The tragedy of Verda. In a small town on Earth, nestled between rolling hills and vibrant forests, Lyra was preparing for her daughter Verda's 8th birthday. The air was filled with excitement as she decorated their modest home with colorful balloons and streamers. Lyra had planned a simple yet joyful celebration with cake and games, hoping to create lasting memories for her little girl. However, that day took an unexpected turn when news broke of escalating tensions between Earth and the Galactic Empire. Lyra had heard whispers about skirmishes near the Drachnid Expanse but had dismissed them as mere rumors. She focused on making Verda's day special, unaware of the impending tragedy that would shatter their lives forever. As evening approached, Lyra and Verda ventured outside to greet friends arriving for the party. Laughter filled the air until it was abruptly interrupted by a sudden explosion in the distance. The ground shook beneath their feet as panic set in. Lyra grabbed Verda's hand tightly, her heart racing as she looked toward the horizon where flames erupted against the darkening sky. "Mommy, what's happening?" Verda asked innocently, her eyes wide with fear. "It's okay, sweetheart. Stay close to me," Lyra replied, trying to reassure her daughter while her own heart sank with dread. The chaos escalated as military ships soared overhead. A massive vessel from the Galactic Empire was descending toward their town, its ominous presence casting shadows over everything below. Lyra felt an overwhelming sense of helplessness as she realized they were caught in something far beyond their control. In a desperate attempt to protect her daughter, Lyra pulled Verda into their home and locked the door. They huddled together in fear as explosions echoed outside. The sounds of sirens and distant screams filled their ears while debris rained down around them. Then came another explosion, this one closer than before. The shockwave knocked them off their feet, sending them crashing into furniture. Dazed but determined, Lyra struggled to regain her composure and shield her daughter from harm. "Stay here. I'll check what's happening," she shouted over the noise, though she knew deep down that there was little she could do against such overwhelming force. As she opened the door cautiously, Lyra was met with devastation. Buildings were crumbling, people were running in every direction seeking safety. But it was too late, another blast rocked their neighborhood just as she stepped outside. In that moment of horror, Lyra turned back toward her home only to see it engulfed in flames. A sinking feeling gripped her heart as she realized that Verda was still inside. She dashed back through the chaos toward their burning home but was stopped by a soldier who grabbed her arm. "Ma'am! You can't go in there," he shouted above the roar of destruction. "My daughter is inside. I have to save her." Lyra screamed frantically. The soldier's face softened with sympathy but remained firm. "It's too dangerous. We need to evacuate." Desperation flooded through Lyra as she fought against his grip. "Please. I can't leave her." But before she could break free or convince him otherwise, another explosion erupted nearby, this time much closer, and everything went black. When Lyra regained consciousness, she found herself lying on the ground amid rubble and debris. She struggled to sit up and looked around frantically for Verda but saw only destruction and chaos surrounding her. "Verda," she cried out hoarsely, panic rising within her once more. As she stumbled through what remained of her home, hope began to fade into despair when she saw no sign of her daughter anywhere. Her heart raced as she pushed through piles of debris until finally reaching what used to be their living room. There lay a small figure amidst the wreckage. Her heart stopped as she rushed forward only to discover it was not Verda but a lifeless doll that had belonged to her daughter. "No, no," Lyra sobbed uncontrollably as reality crashed down upon her like a tidal wave. In that moment of grief and disbelief, sirens wailed in the distance while soldiers began cordoning off areas affected by the attack. News reports flooded in about an incident involving human casualties due to an alien skirmish, a child among them named Verda who had perished in an unprovoked attack by forces from the Galactic Empire. Lyra felt rage coursing through her veins, anger at herself for not being able to protect her daughter and fury at those responsible for this tragedy, an empire that saw humanity as nothing more than collateral damage in their quest for power. The world around her faded into insignificance as grief transformed into determination. She would not let Verda's death be in vain. As news spread across Earth about what had transpired that fateful day, the death of an innocent child igniting something deep within humanity, the call for justice grew louder. Lyra vowed to honor Verda's memory by fighting back against those who had taken everything from her, a fight that would unite humanity like never before against an empire that underestimated them at every turn. Thus began humanity's march toward war, a war fueled by grief but also by resilience and strength forged through tragedy, a war that would change everything forever. Gathering forces. The aftermath of Verda's tragic death rippled through Earth, igniting a firestorm of anger and grief. In the heart of a bustling military base, Commander Yarrick stood before a gathering of officers, their faces a mixture of determination and sorrow. The news had spread like wildfire. Humanity was no longer willing to be passive victims in a galaxy that seemed intent on their destruction. "Ladies and gentlemen," Yarrick began, his voice steady yet filled with emotion. "We have lost one of our own. Verda's death is not just a tragedy, it is a call to arms. We cannot allow this injustice to go unanswered." The room fell silent, the weight of his words hanging heavily in the air. Each officer knew the stakes. They understood that this was about more than just one child, it was about the survival of humanity itself. The Galactic Empire had shown its true colors, and it was time for Earth to respond. The call to unity. Yarrick paced the room, his mind racing with strategies and possibilities. "We need to unite our forces, gather every ship and soldier we can muster. This is not just a military operation, it's a fight for our very existence." As he spoke, images of Verda flashed through his mind, her laughter, her innocence, and the dreams she would never fulfill. That vision fueled his resolve. He would ensure that no other mother would have to suffer this loss. "Let's reach out to our allies," he continued. "We need every hand we can get. This isn't just about Earth anymore, it's about standing up against tyranny." The officers nodded in agreement, determination etched on their faces. They understood that this was not merely a battle against an alien empire, it was a fight for justice, for peace, and for the future of their children. Rallying the troops. In the days that followed, Commander Yarrick worked tirelessly to rally Earth's forces. He held meetings with military leaders from around the globe, each one echoing the same sentiment: they would not stand idly by while their people were slaughtered. As news of Verda's death spread beyond Earth, messages of support poured in from various factions across the galaxy. Many civilizations had faced oppression at the hands of the Galactic Empire and were eager to join forces. Yarrick felt a surge of hope as he realized they were not alone in this fight. Together, he announced during one meeting, "We can form an alliance strong enough to challenge the Empire. We will show them that humanity will not be silenced or intimidated." Preparing for war. With renewed vigor, Earth's military began preparations for war. Ships were refitted and armed with advanced weaponry, soldiers underwent rigorous training to prepare for the battles ahead. The atmosphere buzzed with energy as humanity united under one banner, a banner forged from grief but tempered by resilience. As Yarrick oversaw these preparations, he couldn't help but think about what lay ahead. The Galactic Empire was vast and powerful, but they had underestimated humanity's spirit. He believed in their ingenuity and determination, qualities that had allowed them to overcome countless challenges throughout history. One evening, as Yarrick reviewed battle plans in his office, a young officer named Mira entered with a report. "Commander," she said breathlessly, "we've intercepted communications from the Galactic Empire. They're aware of our mobilization." Yarrick's brow furrowed as he considered this new information. "What are they saying?" "They're dismissing us as insignificant," Mira replied, her voice tinged with anger. "They believe we're no match for their forces." "That's exactly what we want them to think," Yarrick said with a determined smile. "Let them underestimate us, it will work to our advantage." Building alliances. With each passing day, Yarrick continued to forge alliances with other civilizations eager to resist the Empire's tyranny. Meetings were held in secret locations across various planets where representatives gathered to discuss strategies and share resources. One such meeting took place on a remote moon orbiting a gas giant known as Vespera 4. Leaders from several allied factions convened in an ancient temple that had once served as a place of worship for an extinct civilization. As they gathered around a holographic table displaying star maps and troop movements, Yarrick addressed them passionately. "We stand at a crossroads in history," he began. "Our actions today will determine not only our fate but also that of countless generations to come." An elder from the Zorathian Alliance raised his hand. "Commander Yarrick, how do we ensure that this alliance remains strong? There are many factions with differing agendas." "We must focus on our shared goal," Yarrick replied firmly. "The destruction of the Galactic Empire is our common enemy, everything else can wait until we achieve victory." The representatives nodded in agreement, their resolve strengthening as they discussed tactics and coordinated their efforts. The moment of reckoning. As preparations reached their peak, Yarrick felt an electric charge in the air, a sense that something monumental was about to happen. He gathered his top officers for one final briefing before they launched their first offensive against the Galactic Empire. "Tomorrow marks the beginning of our fight," he declared, his voice resonating with authority. "We will strike at dawn when they least expect it." Mira stood beside him, her eyes filled with determination. "We won't let Verda's death be in vain," she said fiercely. "No," Yarrick agreed solemnly. "This is for all those who have suffered at their hands." The officers exchanged glances filled with unspoken promises of loyalty, bravery, and vengeance against an empire that had taken too much from them. As night fell over Earth and its allies prepared for battle, Yarrick looked out over the horizon from his command center, a world on the brink of war yet filled with hope and unity. Tomorrow would be their first step toward reclaiming their future, a future where every child could grow up free from fear and oppression. With hearts steeled by loss but driven by purpose, humanity was ready to declare war on the Galactic Empire. The Galactic Council's response. A tense gathering. In the heart of the Galactic Empire, the Grand Council convened in a vast chamber adorned with shimmering crystals and floating orbs of light. Supreme Chancellor Zack's voice boomed through the hall, demanding silence from the representatives of over 300 spacefaring civilizations. The atmosphere was thick with tension as the council members whispered among themselves, their expressions a mix of concern and disbelief. "Ambassador Krell, you have the floor," Chancellor Zack commanded, his 4 arms raised in authority. The council had gathered to discuss a pressing matter, the humans and their recent expansionist activities. Ambassador Krell, a tall figure with silver-scaled skin, rose from his seat. Unlike many of his fellow Draconians who favored aggressive tactics, Krell had always advocated for diplomacy. He took a deep breath, knowing the weight of what he was about to say. "Honored members of the council," Krell began, his voice resonating with calmness. "The humans have established colonies at an unprecedented rate. In the past solar cycle alone, they have terraformed 12 previously uninhabitable worlds." He paused to let the gravity of his words sink in. "Their technology is advancing at a pace that defies our previous models of civilizational development." Rising concerns. As Krell spoke, murmurs spread through the chamber. A representative from Zorath, their crystalline form pulsing with anxiety, interjected. "But they're confined to their sector. The Treaty of New Saturn still holds." Krell's expression darkened. "Technically yes, but they are pushing boundaries. Their survey ships have been spotted increasingly close to the Drachnid expanse. Military Commander Vexer has already filed 3 official complaints regarding their presence near our mining operations." General Vaxer, one of the most decorated military leaders in the Empire, rose with a booming voice that echoed through the chamber. "These primitives need to be taught their place. They emerged from their little blue world barely 2 centuries ago, Who are they to challenge civilizations that have ruled the stars for millennia? Krell felt his scales bristle at Vaxor's tone but maintained his diplomatic composure. Perhaps we should remember that these primitives achieved in 2 centuries what took most of us millennia, he countered. Their adaptability is remarkable. Remarkable arrogance. Vaxor spat back. They treat space as if it's their playground, their birthright. A sudden incident. Before Krell could respond, an emergency communication array burst to life in the center of the room. A holographic figure materialized, Commander Vexor himself, his pale scales reflecting stress. Council, Vexor began urgently, there's been an incident. Chancellor Zack leaned forward, concern etched on his face. What kind of incident? We engaged a human vessel near the Drachnid expanse, Vexor explained. They refused to leave our space. Standard protocol was followed, warning shots were fired. His voice faltered as he continued, the human ship's shields failed unexpectedly, our shots, there was a child aboard, a human child. A hush fell over the chamber as Vexor's words sank in. She didn't survive, he whispered. Shock and denial. The silence that followed was deafening. Krell observed various expressions across the faces of his fellow council members, shock, dismissal, even contempt. They didn't understand, they couldn't comprehend what had just transpired. Vexor continued hesitantly, her name was Emily Chen, she was 8 Earth years old. Surely the humans will understand it was an accident, someone murmured. Krell's laugh was hollow and devoid of humor. You really don't know humans at all, do you? He turned to face the council members with urgency in his voice. We have just killed one of their children. Do any of you understand what that means? Before anyone could respond, every communication device in the chamber blared simultaneously with urgent alerts and messages from across the galaxy. The human response. Back on Earth, Lyra watched in horror as news reports flooded in about Verda's death and now Emily Chen's tragic fate. The world was engulfed in outrage. Social media erupted with hashtags demanding justice for innocent lives lost due to Imperial aggression. Commander Yarrick stood before a gathering crowd outside military headquarters, addressing thousands who had come to express their grief and anger over Emily's death and Verda's before her. We will not stand idly by while innocent lives are taken. Yarrick declared passionately. This is not just about one child. This is about every child who deserves to grow up free from fear. We will fight back against this tyranny. The crowd erupted into cheers and chants for justice as Lyra stood among them, her heart heavy yet filled with determination. She felt a sense of unity among her fellow citizens, they were all grieving together but also ready to take action. A call for action. Meanwhile, back in the Grand Council chamber, Krell felt a growing sense of dread as he realized that this incident could spark an all-out war between humans and aliens. We must act swiftly, he urged his fellow council members. We cannot allow this tragedy to escalate further. General Vaxor sneered dismissively. Let them come. We'll show them what happens when they defy us. Krell shook his head vehemently. No. We must seek diplomacy first. If we do not approach this situation carefully, we risk igniting a conflict that could consume us all. Chancellor Zack considered Krell's words carefully but remained conflicted as voices rose around him, some calling for military action while others advocated for negotiation. An uncertain future. As tensions mounted within the council chamber and on Earth alike, both sides prepared for what lay ahead, an inevitable clash between 2 civilizations driven by anger and grief. Lyra stood resolute among her fellow citizens as they rallied together under one banner, a banner forged from loss but also from hope for a brighter future where no mother would have to bury her child due to senseless violence. In that moment of unity and determination on Earth contrasted sharply against uncertainty within the Galactic Council, each side poised on the brink of war yet unaware of how deeply intertwined their fates had become. As night fell over both worlds, the human resolve strengthening while alien leaders debated their next moves. The stage was set for an epic confrontation that would change everything forever. The first strike. The calm before the storm. As dawn broke over Earth, a sense of anticipation hung in the air. Commander Yarrick stood on the bridge of the flagship, the Elysium, gazing out at the fleet assembled before him. Hundreds of ships, each a testament to human ingenuity and resilience, were ready for battle. The vastness of space stretched out before them, a canvas of stars and uncertainty. Yarrick felt a mix of emotions, determination, fear, and a deep-seated desire for justice. Today was not just another mission, it was a pivotal moment in human history. They were no longer passive observers in the galactic theater, they were players ready to assert their place. "Commander," Mira said, breaking his reverie. "All systems are go. The fleet is ready for your orders." "Thank you, Mira," Yarrick replied, turning to face his crew. "Today, we fight not just for ourselves but for every life lost at the hands of the Galactic Empire. We will show them that humanity will not be silenced." The launch. With a nod from Yarrick, the fleet sprang to life. Engines roared to life as ships began to move in formation, each vessel brimming with hope and determination. The Elysium led the charge, its sleek design cutting through the void like a knife. As they approached the drachnid expanse, tension mounted among the crew. Yarrick could sense their anxiety, they were about to confront an enemy that had long been considered superior. He took a deep breath, reminding himself of their purpose. "Remember what we're fighting for," he said over the intercom. "We're not just fighting against oppression, we're fighting for our future and the future of every child who deserves to live without fear." Engaging the enemy. The first sighting of enemy ships sent a jolt through Jarrek's body. The Galactic Empire's vessels loomed ominously against the backdrop of stars, massive warships that radiated power and intimidation. But Yarrick knew that fear was not an option, they had trained for this moment. "Prepare to engage," he commanded, his voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through him. The Elysium and its fleet moved into formation, weapon systems online and ready to fire. As they closed in on the enemy, Jarrek's heart raced. He could see their shields shimmering in defiance, but he had faith in his crew and their technology. "Fire at will," he shouted. The space erupted into chaos as beams of energy shot across the void. Explosions lit up the darkness as human ships clashed with their alien counterparts. Yarrick felt a surge of exhilaration mixed with fear as he maneuvered through enemy fire, guiding his ship with precision. A battle for survival. The battle raged on, each side exchanging fire in a deadly dance of strategy and skill. Yarrick watched as his crew executed maneuvers flawlessly, pilots weaving through enemy lines while gunners unleashed torrents of energy blasts. "Commander!" Mira shouted from her station. "We have reports of civilian casualties on nearby planets. We need to pull back." Jarrek's heart sank at her words. He had hoped to avoid collateral damage but knew that war often came with unintended consequences. "We can't retreat now," he replied firmly. "If we pull back, we lose everything we've fought for." Mira nodded reluctantly but continued monitoring communications from other ships in their fleet. A turning point. Just then, an urgent message came through from Captain Rian aboard another ship, the Vanguard. "Commander! We've encountered heavy resistance. We're taking heavy damage. Rian, hold your position." Yarrick ordered. "Reinforcements are on their way." But before he could finish speaking, an explosion rocked the Vanguard, sending debris spiraling into space. Jarrek's heart dropped as he realized they were losing ships, losing lives, right before his eyes. "Launch our reserve fighters," he commanded desperately. "We need to cover them." Fighter jets launched from the Elysium, darting toward the fray like angry hornets seeking vengeance against their foes. Yarrick felt a surge of pride as he watched his pilots engage in dogfights with enemy craft, humans fighting against overwhelming odds with courage and tenacity. The cost of war. As minutes turned into hours, it became clear that this battle would not be easily won. The Galactic Empire was formidable. Their ships were equipped with advanced technology that tested every ounce of human ingenuity. Suddenly, an alert blared across the bridge, a warning that sent chills down Jarek's spine. "Commander. We've lost contact with several ships," Mira reported urgently. Jarek clenched his fists in frustration. He had known this would be costly, but seeing it unfold was unbearable. Each lost ship represented lives extinguished too soon, mothers and fathers who would never return home. "We must press on," he said resolutely despite feeling hollow inside. "For Verda, for Emily, for all those who have suffered." A moment of clarity. In the midst of chaos, Jarek spotted something unexpected, a glimmering object drifting amidst wreckage nearby. It was an escape pod from one of their downed ships. Without thinking twice, he ordered his crew to retrieve it. "Divert course. We need to rescue any survivors," he shouted above the din of battle. As they approached the pod, tension filled the air once more. Would there be anyone left inside? Would they find hope amidst despair? When they finally opened it up, relief washed over him as they pulled out a young pilot, barely alive but breathing. "Get him medical attention," Jarek commanded urgently as medics rushed forward to assist. A renewed resolve. As they continued fighting against overwhelming odds throughout that harrowing day, something shifted within Jarek, a renewed sense of purpose ignited by witnessing resilience firsthand among his crew members who fought valiantly even in dire circumstances. They were not just fighting for survival anymore, they were fighting for each other, their bonds forged through shared experiences becoming stronger than any weaponry or technology could provide. With every passing moment spent battling against tyranny came clarity. This was about more than just revenge. It was about standing united against oppression while honoring those who had fallen before them. As night fell over space like an endless abyss filled with stars shimmering brightly above, a reminder that hope still existed somewhere out there, Jarek vowed silently within himself, they would prevail against all odds because humanity thrived when faced with adversity. And so began humanity's first strike against an empire that had long underestimated them. A strike fueled by grief but also by unwavering determination, a strike destined to echo throughout history. A new alliance. The aftermath of battle. As the dust settled on the battlefield, the silence that followed was deafening. Commander Jarek stared out at the wreckage of ships, both human and alien, floating in the void of space. The battle had been fierce, and although humanity had managed to hold their ground, the cost was high. Lives were lost, and ships were damaged beyond repair. Jarek felt a heavy weight in his chest as he thought of the families who would never see their loved ones again. Each loss was a reminder of why they had fought, why they had declared war against the Galactic Empire. But even in this moment of sorrow, he knew they could not afford to dwell on grief. They needed to regroup and plan their next move. "Commander," Mira said, breaking his thoughts. "We need to assess our losses and gather what remains of our fleet." Jarek nodded, his mind racing with strategies and possibilities. "We also need to reach out to our allies. If we're going to stand a chance against the Empire, we must unite with those who share our cause." A call for unity. Back on Earth, Lyra watched the news reports detailing the aftermath of the battle. The images were haunting, wrecked ships floating in space, debris raining down on planets, and families mourning their losses. She felt a mixture of pride and sorrow. Humanity had fought bravely but at a terrible cost. As she sat in her living room, surrounded by her daughter's toys, Lyra made a decision. She would not let Verda's death be in vain. She would do everything in her power to help unite humanity and its allies against the Galactic Empire. Lyra reached out to local leaders and community organizers, sharing her vision of a united front against their oppressors. "We must come together," she urged them during a meeting in a crowded hall. "If we don't stand up for ourselves, who will?" We owe it to our children, our future. Her words resonated with those present, igniting a spark of determination within them. They began discussing ways to support the military efforts while also providing aid to families affected by the conflict. An unexpected visitor. Meanwhile, aboard the Elysium, Yarrick received an unexpected communication from an alien ship approaching their position. The vessel was unlike any he had seen before, sleek and elegant, adorned with symbols that glowed softly against its dark hull. "Commander," Mira said with surprise in her voice. "We're receiving a transmission from that ship." "Put it on screen," Yarrick ordered, curiosity piqued. The holographic image flickered to life, revealing an alien figure with iridescent skin and large expressive eyes. "I am Zarek of the Valorian Coalition," he announced, his voice melodic yet firm. "I come seeking an alliance." "An alliance?" Yarrick echoed, taken aback by this unexpected turn of events. "Yes," Zarek continued earnestly. "We have watched your struggle against the Galactic Empire from afar. Our people have suffered under their rule as well. We believe that together we can stand against them. A shared purpose." Yarrick felt a surge of hope at Zarek's words. This was exactly what they needed, a coalition of like-minded civilizations ready to fight back against oppression. "Tell me more about your coalition," Yarrick replied, leaning forward in his seat. Zarek explained that the Valorian coalition consisted of several planets that had long been subjugated by the Empire. They had witnessed firsthand the devastation caused by Imperial forces and were eager to join humanity's fight for freedom. "We have advanced technology and resources that could aid you," Zarek said confidently. "But we need your leadership and courage to guide us." Yarrick exchanged glances with Mira, they both understood the significance of this moment. An alliance could change everything, they could pool their strengths and resources to mount a formidable resistance against the Empire. "Let's meet in person," Yarrick suggested decisively. "We can discuss strategies and how we can work together." A meeting of minds. The following day, Zarek arrived aboard the Elysium, greeted warmly by Yarrick and his crew. The atmosphere was tense yet hopeful as they gathered in the command center for discussions. "Thank you for welcoming me aboard," Zarek said with genuine appreciation as he took a seat across from Yarrick. "We're honored to have you here," Yarrick replied sincerely. "Tell us more about your people and how we can work together." Zarek shared stories of his planet's struggles under Imperial rule, their cities razed, their resources exploited, and their people oppressed. As he spoke passionately about his desire for freedom, Yarrick felt an overwhelming sense of camaraderie growing between them. "We have developed technology that can counteract some of the Empire's defenses," Zarek explained confidently. "But we need your tactical expertise on how best to deploy it." Forging new strategies. Over the next few days, Yarrick and Zarek worked tirelessly together alongside their respective teams to devise new strategies for combating the Galactic Empire's forces. They analyzed data from previous battles while also sharing insights into each other's technologies. Mira played a crucial role during these discussions. Her keen analytical skills helped identify weaknesses within enemy lines that could be exploited through coordinated attacks. As they strategized late into the nights aboard the Elysium, something remarkable began to happen. The bond between humans and Valorians grew stronger with each passing moment as they shared laughter amid serious discussions about war tactics. They were no longer just two species fighting for survival, they were allies united by a common goal, a goal that transcended their differences. A new hope. Word spread quickly throughout both civilizations about this newfound alliance, a coalition formed not just out of necessity but also out of mutual respect and understanding. Back on Earth, Lyra continued her advocacy efforts while rallying support from various communities across different nations, encouraging everyone to join forces with their new allies in this fight against oppression. As excitement built among citizens eager for change, their hearts filled with hope, the stage was set for something monumental. A united front ready to challenge an empire that had long ruled through fear. Meanwhile, aboard the Elysium, Yarrick stood at the helm alongside Zarek as they prepared for their first joint mission, a mission designed not only to strike back against Imperial forces but also demonstrate what true unity could achieve when diverse civilizations came together as one. As they set course toward enemy territory filled with uncertainty ahead, both commanders felt an exhilarating sense of purpose driving them forward, knowing that together they would forge a new path toward freedom. And so began humanity's journey into uncharted territory, a journey fueled by resilience but also strengthened through alliances formed amidst adversity, a journey destined to change everything forever.